G'day there. Welcome to the closing bell on the 19th of July for me on the Friday afternoon after my alternator blew up and I've just been charged nearly $1,000 to get it replaced. 3 hours labor for it. I think he stitched me up. Anyway, today I'm going to have a look at gold, and that is because hopefully you guys have known that I've been, preparing you and trying to help you into a few stocks over the last however many months as gold broke out to new all-time highs. I gave you RSG, Resolute Mining, just in March. That is up about 50% since then. So hopefully a few of you guys are on that. I did say Regis at the time too. That's about the same price. And I actually think that's getting ready to run. Had a look at the presentation yesterday from their CEO at the Noosa Mining conference. And, they're really talking up the fact that they're unhedged, that their cash flows are really starting to pick up. They still really believe in McPhillamys, thinks it's a big growth project for them that will come to fruition. So I think their day in the doldrums may soon be over. So that one could be one to revisit if you're not on it yet. I gave you De Grey Mining just a couple of weeks ago. That was $1.14 on the Monday morning after the closing bell. When I talked about that, that's up at about $1.22, which is not bad for a couple of weeks' work. So I have been slowly chipping away, letting you know that the laggards to maybe jump on. Told you about the breakout many months ago, but now the breakout is, really going. It's, I think, interesting to look at it at a very detailed way to work out how you want to play things going forward, what could happen, so you're not freaking out on pullbacks and that sort of thing. Making sure that you're looking at those pullbacks as opportunities and contemplating, what we could be seeing as interest rates start falling. Which could help with gold. We know central bankers are on board there, shipping in some gold. So it's all looking pretty good from that point of view. Hopefully you're already on a few. So let's dive in and have a look at gold. And if you are interested in this space, at the moment, Brian Chu is really offering a great option of getting on board the Australian Gold Report. And he's very good on the fundamental side of things. So if you really want a detailed analysis of the different stocks, especially those sort of up and comers, and know all about them and the management behind them and their mines and etc. etc. I've got a lot of knowledge to share. So definitely check that out. There should be a link in the article to check it out. So let's have a look at where gold's at. So here we can see a weekly chart of the gold price since about 2016. This is pretty much the low after the massive correction from 2011. So we're looking at this whole run and analyzing that just to give you a sense of how these rallies develop and where you look for opportunities. And you should know when I'm looking at these waves, there's areas within the wave where I expect to see support as the wave develops. So I'm sort of looking at a whole range, and there's an area, like 75 to 87% retracement is a great spot to see reversals and for the trend to continue to the upside, or the midpoint. So if we're looking at that wave here, you can see there sort of coming back to the midpoint and then turning back up. So I'm sort of looking at those areas as a trend develops and, expecting, the rally to sort of move in that way. So, if we're looking all the way back at the whole beginning of the rally, you can see here, if we're analyzing it from that point of view, we've got that initial wave higher. And then I'm looking at the areas within that wave where I expect to see prices change direction and head back to that midpoint, the point of control. So you can see there, even though it's ended up trending strongly to the upside, we've got the initial wave higher, the retracement, which is a shakeout, back to that buy zone area. And then it's taken off to the upside. And look, there's been a lot of work done. It's so early in the trend. So we have had, a couple of years of being rejected from that sell zone area and then heading back to the point of control. And then that's where the next rally begins from. So that's sort of how, when a trend is really going, though, it's only going to pull back a little bit, isn't it? So the way that it will move is it will probably, when it's very strong, just pull back to the midpoint and then take off. So if we're sort of looking at these waves as they develop, you can see you've got that run. It pulls back, very close to that midpoint before the next run. And this is where you can see when a run is getting really strong is when you don't get those pullbacks. So if we're just, purely looking at how it developed, you can see this next wave, it was just so strong, wasn't it? It didn't even pull back at all. And then going up again, got this big run here. It has a big pullback on that wave before taking off. So you're just following it along and saying, right, well, when these things take off, they can have very strong moves, but also very large corrections of the previous wave, but still be bullish. As long as it's holding above those recent lows, there's nothing really to be concerned about, is there? So we're watching as it evolves. And even when we had this 3-year correction, which has been what's happened over the last few years, where it's just gone sideways and been shaking everyone out and been terrible. If we look at it from this point of view, and I, look at that most recent wave from that low, and again, we look at this analysis of the wave higher and say, well, the opportunities is often in the buy zone of that wave. The where you've got to be wary is up in the sell zone, and you can expect to see lots of revisiting the point of control of the wave when it's stuck. So from that point of view, just looking at it, there's your wave. We had the correction back towards that midpoint, which held in there. It's been rejected from the sell zone once there, sold off to the midpoint, rallied again, rejected from the midpoint once more, sucked in a few bulls, and back to the midpoint again. Then it failed down to that buy zone. There was a big opportunity, and off it went to the upside. Still lots of work done, trying to figure out what it's going to do. And then this is when the next big wave higher began. And this is why just looking at where we're at now and to understand it and to just look at the most recent wave and say, what's going on? Well, lo and behold, you can see these waves developing and ask yourself, how have they evolved? And it's been the same sort of thing, right? Where you've got each wave, you can see here the start pulling back to the midpoint and the support's there. And then it's taken off to the next wave. So then we're just following along. And this is just to build your confidence in this idea of how these waves develop. And so you can sort of get a sense of how strong a trend is. And you can see there, another wave higher, this pulled back all the way into that buy zone sort of area. And there was your opportunity within the trend to get on once it turned back up. And this is when I was getting excited when it took off for the next wave higher. And once it's doing that and you're looking at those big long-term resistance levels, it's like, oh, this trend is developing. It is all ticking the boxes here. And if it keeps going, this is breaking out to new all-time highs and the trend is looking fabulous. So that's when I've been, letting watch out. This is on here. So when you're looking at it from that point of view and saying and looking at what's going on here now, I could very feasibly say that this trend from that low really is, this wave is one wave going from, around 1,800 bucks to where it is now, 2,400. So if we're just looking at that, you know, it really hasn't had any pullbacks. This is where we're saying it's been a um, fabulously strong move, right? And you've just got to expect and not be surprised by these, even if it's very strong, moves back to the point of control, which would be down at 2150, right? And even all the way down to this sort of 1900 to 2000 region can still all feasibly happen. And the gold price can be looking strong as an ox. So at the moment, it's very strong and it really has um, uh, looked like this is the real deal as far as the big breakout is concerned. And this is why, looking at how this trend could develop, you've got to be on. Like, this is why I've been telling you for months about these stocks to get on. So really, you should be on now. This is not a great time to be trying to, I guess, start gold exposure because there is still a risk of a correction. But really big picture, how these huge breakouts often work, and I have said this before, is of retesting that breakout level. And again, that's down at sort of 2100. So if we're thinking really big picture, you shouldn't be surprised by a quick retest of that major old all-time high, which was an old all-time high for years. And even back there, that was from 2011. It's a really major area for the market in gold. And if the buying is present around this area and turns back up, that's when you're really saying, wow, um, the breakout above there is like, watch out, this is going to be big if that support is there. Now, devil's advocate, if that can't hold, and gold sort of turning right back down back into that range, that's not going to be looking too great. We want it to really hold above those levels around that sort of 2000, let's say. I will give it the benefit of the doubt if it does, just nip down into that 1900, 200 area, but I really don't want it back below 1800 from here at all. So if we just switch to the monthly, you can see that it's in an explosive phase right now. And look, I am wary that, it's sort of in a phase where everyone's super, super bullish and is not expecting something like this, which can happen. But just to make sure you don't freak out if something like that does happen and see it as a potentially great opportunity if you aren't on. And this is why I'm mentioning, Brian's Australian Gold Report, getting across all those companies. What are the up and comers, the laggards, in the explorers and the developers, they've sort of been lagging behind. So there is still opportunity out there. I've actually just bought into a microcap one recently, which is going to have first pour at the end of the year. I'm not going to tell you the company because I think it is a boomer and it's for members of my service. But if you're looking at this really big picture and saying, I think gold could really blast off, it can keep going here. This is why I'm saying you should be on board, and I've been hinting for you to do that. So it is an explosive phase. We could be somewhere here. But do note that it does keep coming back to retest that 10-month moving average. And the 10-month moving average is all the way down here. So this explosive move to the upside could still see gold down 250 bucks, before turning back up again. So this is where just setting you up that hold on to your gold stocks if you've got them now. It really can blast off. Maybe if you've got some really big wins, I'll keep an eye on it to say, look, watch out, it could be correcting. I'm not ready to say that yet, but just be prepared for, I guess, anything and remain bullish and be sort of, I guess, excited if we do see a correction which retests and then finds the buying. Because that's when you're talking about a stupid rally in gold. This is where, if we really look long term and say that we think gold could be heading a hell of a lot higher, this is the sort of setup in a very big picture where I'm saying, a retest and then saying, yes, it's on, is when you're saying, well, there is nothing. It's all blue sky. It's now saying it's really broken away from what has been resistance for 15 years. And it's on for the next leg up. So that's why this is sort of a very interesting time for gold. And you want to be on tenterhooks, I guess, and long, hope you are, but not shaken out by what could be coming because it's getting a little bit overstretched in the short term. That's why I wanted to show you, expect 50% retracements of previous waves. And really, as we're, just looking at this big picture, you're sort of looking at it like this, so that's still very strong, isn't it? So whatever it does, it can still be looking super strong, even with quite a large correction. All right, so that's it for today. Just to keep you on the ball with it. Gold is one of the best things I've seen for the last year, and all my guys are really set up in it, and I'm enjoying it. But I just wanted to give you a really detailed look, and yeah, check out Brian's Australian Gold Report. I think you'll find it quite interesting. All right, cheers.